The city streets were drenched in a sudden spring rain, puddles reflecting the neon signs of downtown cafes and shops. Emily Carson, a single mother of a spirited 5-year-old named Mia, struggled to keep her balance as she carried her daughter on one hip and a mud-stained stroller through the slippery sidewalk. Emily had been running late for her blind date, a last-ditch effort to dip her toe back into a world that had seemed impossible to navigate since her husband left. Her shoes squelched, her coat soaked through, and Mia giggled, utterly unbothered by the mess. Across the street, Alex Whitman, a successful architect with a reputation for precision and control, checked his phone impatiently. He had been coaxed into the blind date by his best friend, insisting he try something different. Little did he know, today's encounter would shake the very foundation of his life. Emily arrived at the cafe, apologizing profusely to the hostess as she attempted to clean the worst of the mud from her coat. Alex looked up from his table, and something in his chest tightened, not because of her disheveled appearance, but because there was something eerily familiar about the way she laughed at Mia's jokes, the same way someone he once knew did years ago. Emily approached, cheeks flushed, hair damp and clinging to her face. I'm so sorry for being late. The rain, she trailed off, embarrassed. Alex, staring at her with a strange mixture of curiosity and recognition, said nothing at first. Instead, he studied her eyes, searching for the memory that seemed just out of reach. That tiny smile, that spark of resilience, it tugged at a part of him he hadn't accessed in years. Mia, oblivious to the tension, tugged Emily's hand. "Mom, can we sit there?" she asked, pointing at the table where Alex waited. Emily hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, let's try," she said softly, feeling a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, today wouldn't be another disappointment. Alex gestured to the seat across from him, and as Emily carefully settled in, their eyes met. In that moment, the storm outside seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet curiosity, a connection waiting to be remembered. But neither of them realized that this accidental, muddy meeting was only the first step toward unraveling a past they both thought was lost forever. Emily settled into the cafe chair, wringing her hands as Mia chattered beside her, oblivious to the storm of emotions swirling between the adults. Alex, still silent, leaned back slightly, studying her with a careful intensity. Something in her eyes stirred a memory buried deep, a face from his childhood, a summer long ago, when life felt simpler yet profoundly important. Is this your daughter?" he asked finally, his voice careful, almost hesitant, as if afraid speaking too quickly might shatter the fragile connection he felt forming. Emily smiled faintly, a mixture of pride and exhaustion in her expression. "Yes, this little whirlwind is Mia," she said, ruffling the child's hair. "She keeps me on my toes." Mia giggled, holding up a muddy hand. "Look, Dad, mud hands," she exclaimed, oblivious to the tension. Alex froze for a moment. The word dad wasn't meant for him, yet something about the innocence of her laughter struck a chord he hadn't expected. Emily glanced at him, puzzled by the hesitation. I'm sorry, you're probably wondering why I'm so chaotic right now," she said, brushing damp hair behind her ear. "The rain, the stroller, everything just went sideways." Alex shook his head, still staring at her with that strange mix of curiosity and recognition. "No, it's just, you look familiar," he admitted quietly, voice tinged with awe and confusion. "Have we met before?" Emily blinked, surprised. "I don't think so, maybe at school or something," she offered uncertainly, her mind racing to place this composed, strangely intense man. Alex's chest tightened. "No, I mean when we were kids. I think you lived down my street. Summer of '98. Emily froze. Memories flickered through her mind, the small cul-de-sac, treehouse adventures, long afternoons under the sun. Her breath caught. "Alex Whitman," she whispered, voice barely audible. His eyes widened. "Emily Carson." The recognition hit them both like lightning, sharp and electrifying. The awkwardness of the present, the rain, the blind date, the muddy chaos, faded into insignificance as years of memories came rushing back. Summers spent climbing trees, sneaking lemonade from the porch, sharing secrets whispered in the golden evening light. They had been neighbors, best friends, inseparable once upon a time. Mia, oblivious, tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, why are you whispering?" she asked, tilting her head. Emily laughed softly, a little embarrassed, and shook her head. "Just remembering old friends," she said, smiling at Alex. Alex smiled too, but it was tentative, as though testing the waters of this unexpected reunion. "I can't believe this after all these years. You've changed, but you're still you." Emily's cheeks warmed. "You too," she said. "I mean, I knew you'd be taller, more serious, but it's really you." For a long moment, they just looked at each other, the weight of decades hanging between them. Alex's mind raced, questions, regrets, memories he hadn't realized he had missed so deeply. Emily felt the same pull, an unspoken understanding forming that this meeting wasn't just coincidence. It was fate nudging them back together. Mia tugged again, sensing the tension. "Can we eat now?" she asked innocently. Emily laughed, nodding. "Yes, sweetheart, let's eat." Alex chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I guess some things never change," he said, reaching out subtly to offer his hand to Mia. The child accepted with a giggle, her trust bridging the initial gap. Over the meal, they shared stories of the intervening years. Emily's struggles as a single mother, Alex's demanding career, the small triumphs and failures that had shaped them. Each anecdote revealed character, resilience, and the unmistakable spark that had always linked them. By the time the rain eased outside, Alex and Emily had forged a fragile, tentative connection, an acknowledgement that their paths, separated for so long, had crossed again for a reason. But beneath the laughter and shared memories lingered an unspoken question. Could this reconnection survive the chaos of present realities, the complications of parenthood, and the shadows of past misunderstandings? As they left the cafe, Emily tugged Mia along, while Alex walked beside them, his eyes never leaving hers. Something had shifted. An invisible tether pulled them closer, a spark of old familiarity lighting the path toward something neither of them had anticipated: love, trust, and the courage to rebuild. The rainy city glistened around them, neon reflections dancing on wet asphalt, a reminder that life, unpredictable and messy, sometimes offered second chances when least expected. The sun had broken through the morning clouds, casting warm golden streaks across the city streets. Emily pushed the stroller toward the park, Mia bouncing with energy in her small rain boots. Alex followed, walking a careful distance behind them, hesitant yet drawn to the light that seemed to surround them. Emily felt it too, the pull of familiarity, the flutter in her chest when Alex laughed quietly at Mia's antics. She chastised herself silently. I shouldn't. Life's too complicated, she thought, but her heart betrayed her resolve. At the park, Mia darted toward a small fountain, splashing gleefully. "Mom, Dad, look!" she shouted, tossing handfuls of water into the air. Alex froze at the word Dad again. His chest tightened, his mind reeling. He had never expected to feel this surge of protectiveness. Not for someone else's child, not for her. But Mia's laughter, innocent and pure, stirred a deep, unspoken bond. Emily watched, torn between worry and amusement. "Careful, Mia," she called out, but her eyes softened as she saw Alex's quick, protective reflex, moving just in time to shield her daughter from slipping. Their eyes met for a brief moment, the air charged with unspoken emotions. Alex's gaze lingered on her, not just Emily, but the woman she had become. He saw resilience, tenderness, and a warmth that had always existed beneath her playful childhood spirit. I forgot how fearless you were as a kid," Alex said quietly, voice low so only Emily could hear. Emily's lips curved into a small, bittersweet smile. "And I forgot how annoying you could be," she teased, though her voice held a softness he hadn't expected. Mia, sensing the subtle tension, ran to them, holding out a flower she had picked from the park. "Here, for you both," she exclaimed, her smile wide and innocent. Emily took the flower, touched by her daughter's thoughtfulness, and glanced at Alex. He knelt beside her, accepting the tiny gift with a smile that was equal parts wonder and tenderness. This is really nice," he said softly. "She's amazing." Emily felt her heart tighten. "She is," she whispered, realizing that this moment, this simple exchange, was more than just sweet gesture. It was trust, connection, and the start of something neither she nor Alex could fully explain yet. They sat on the bench together, watching Mia chase pigeons, the city buzzing around them but fading into the background. The conversation started hesitantly, full of pauses, half-formed sentences and lingering glances. I didn't expect to see you again," Alex admitted finally, his voice almost a whisper. "Not like this. And not with this," he gestured gently to Mia. Emily swallowed hard. "Me neither," she said. Life happened, and she paused, uncertain. "We became different people. But maybe," Alex interjected softly, "some things don't change. The parts of us that mattered, they're still here, still us." Emily's eyes glistened. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope, not recklessly, but cautiously, with the understanding that trust needed to be rebuilt, piece by piece. Mia, tired from play, curled up on Emily's lap, and Alex placed a protective hand lightly on Emily's shoulder. A simple touch, but it spoke volumes. Presence, care, and a silent promise. As they walked back through the city streets, the afternoon sun reflecting off puddles and glass, Emily realized something profound. Love could be messy, inconvenient, and terrifying, but sometimes it returned when you least expected, bringing healing, laughter, and second chances. And Alex knew, in the quiet moments when Mia's laughter faded into gentle hums of play, that his heart had found its anchor again. And this time, he wasn't going to let it drift away. The next evening, the city's skyline glittered as twilight descended, the golden light reflected in the glass towers. Emily had promised Mia a small treat at the ice cream shop, and Alex had insisted on joining, claiming it was the right thing to do. What should have been a carefree outing quickly took on a tension-laced undercurrent neither of them expected. Mia, bouncing ahead with a chocolate cone in hand, squealed, "Faster! You're too slow!" Her laughter echoed down the narrow street, infectious and unguarded. Emily followed, smiling at her daughter's joy, but her eyes kept flicking toward Alex, who walked quietly behind them, hands in his coat pockets, lips pressed together as though holding back a storm. "You didn't tell me you were going to be so strict with her," Emily said lightly, nudging him with her elbow. "She's a kid, Alex." He glanced at her, tone hesitant, almost defensive. "I'm just careful. I don't want her to get hurt." Emily's smile faltered. She wanted to say it was fine, that Mia was resilient, but an old memory surged. A time when she had felt judged for being too soft with children. A tiny flame of insecurity ignited, and without thinking, she snapped, "I know how to take care of my kid." The words hung in the air, heavier than either expected. Alex stopped in his tracks, startled, and for a moment, the ease they had begun to build cracked. I didn't mean to imply otherwise," he said, his voice quiet but tinged with hurt. Mia, sensing the tension, frowned. "Mom, don't fight," she exclaimed, running between them, chocolate smeared on her fingers and cheeks. "I just want ice cream." Her innocence diffused the tension slightly, but both adults were aware that something had shifted. Emily knelt to Mia's level, brushing a lock of damp hair behind her ear. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. No fighting, just grown-up talking," she said softly, holding her daughter's hand. Alex exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck, frustration mingling with regret. He knew Emily had her pride and he had crossed an unspoken boundary. Yet he also couldn't ignore his instinct to protect Mia. I care about her," he said finally, more gently this time. Emily's eyes softened, but a flicker of defensiveness lingered. "I know, and I appreciate it, I do." The three of them resumed walking, the tension melting slowly but leaving a subtle residue. At the ice cream shop, Mia excitedly chose her favorite flavor, while Alex and Emily shared a quiet smile across the counter, a silent truce. Later, as they sat on a bench outside the shop, Mia curled against Emily while Alex offered a tentative arm for support. The city buzzed around them, cars, lights, chatter. But in this little bubble, the complexity of their emotions simmered quietly. I don't want us to fight like that," Alex said, his gaze fixed on Emily. "I'm trying, okay? I know it's messy." Emily met his eyes, her chest tightening. "I know, I'm trying too. It's just hard letting someone in again, especially after everything." The vulnerability in her voice pierced him, reminding him that trust wasn't a single gift. It was earned, moment by moment. Mia yawned, sleepy from the day, leaning fully against her mother. Alex reached over, brushing her hair back softly. The gesture, simple as it was, spoke louder than any words. Patience, care, and the willingness to bridge the fragile space between them. As they walked back through the glowing city streets, Emily realized that reconnection wasn't linear. Misunderstandings would happen, Boundaries would be tested, but the key was presence. The act of staying, even when it was uncomfortable. And Alex, with a quiet resolve, promised himself he would stay. No misunderstandings, no pride, nothing would keep him from being a part of their lives this time. The following weekend, Emily had invited Alex and Mia to her modest apartment for a casual dinner. The soft glow of string lights filled the room, casting warm shadows on the walls. Mia played with her stuffed animals on the floor, her laughter filling the space with light-hearted chaos. Emily moved between the kitchen and living room, preparing plates, while Alex leaned against the counter, quietly observing. There was an ease now, but it was delicate, like a fine porcelain teetering on the edge of a shelf. Just as Emily set the last plate on the table, a knock echoed through the apartment. Both adults paused. Emily frowned, surprised. She rarely had visitors. "I wasn't expecting anyone," she said cautiously, walking to the door. The moment she opened it, the room fell silent. Standing there was a tall man with sharp features and a commanding presence, Daniel Whitman, Alex's estranged older brother whom Emily had only heard of in passing. His eyes, a mix of curiosity and calculation, flicked from Alex to Emily, and then to Mia, who stared wide-eyed. "Alex," Daniel said smoothly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." Alex stiffened, his jaw tightening. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" His tone was careful, protective. Daniel's gaze shifted to Emily, a hint of scrutiny in his eyes. "I thought it was time we talked. About the past, about what you don't know, Emily." Emily's pulse quickened. Something in Daniel's presence screamed trouble. She exchanged a glance with Alex, who silently urged her to stay calm. Daniel continued, voice calm but sharp. "There are things about your family, about your connection to Alex, that you've never been told. Secrets that could change the way you see him and maybe how you see yourself." Mia tugged at Emily's skirt, sensing the tension. "Mom, are we going to fight again?" Emily knelt to her daughter's level, whispering soothingly, "No, sweetie, we're just talking." But her own heart raced. Alex took a step forward, placing a hand gently on Emily's shoulder. "I don't know what he's talking about, but we'll handle this together," he said, his voice steady but firm. Daniel's eyes glinted with something unreadable. "Alex, it's time you learned the truth about our father's will, about why you were left out and why some of the family matters were complicated. Emily, you deserve to know what kind of chaos you're stepping into." Emily felt a chill. The warmth of the evening evaporated, replaced by a tense, almost cinematic silence. Secrets from Alex's past, shadows she hadn't known existed, threatened to intrude on the fragile bond they were building. Alex clenched his fists, anger and apprehension warring within him. "Daniel, not here, not like this. We'll talk privately," he warned, but Daniel only smiled faintly, the hint of a challenge in his expression. Emily, torn between protecting Mia and understanding the mystery unfolding, felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down. She realized that if this family secret spilled into their lives, it could either shatter what Alex and she were building, or force them to confront their feelings with honesty, courage, and trust. Mia tugged her hand, oblivious to the adult tension, and said softly, "Mom, can we still have dinner?" That small voice, innocent and untainted, reminded them all of what truly mattered, the bond between parent and child, and the fragile connection forming between two hearts trying to heal. Alex exhaled, glancing at Emily. "We'll face this together," he said, and took her hand, a quiet promise in the midst of looming uncertainty. Outside, the city lights shimmered like distant stars, unaware of the storm gathering in one small apartment, the beginning of revelations that could redefine love, family, and trust. The air in Emily's apartment felt heavy, charged with tension. Mia sat quietly on the couch, hugging a stuffed bunny, sensing the adult's unease. Alex stood rigid, eyes locked on his brother, trying to read his intentions. Daniel's expression remained unreadable, a careful mix of calm and calculation. "Alex," Daniel began, his voice steady but sharp, "you've spent years thinking you were the rightful heir to our father's trust. But you were." Alex's jaw tightened. "What do you mean?" Daniel reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. "Our father, he left a clause in his will that no one ever told you about. Because of decisions you made as a teenager, choices you didn't even understand, you were bypassed. And now it affects everything, including the company you think you control. Emily's breath caught. She could see the storm behind Alex's eyes, the mixture of shock, betrayal, and disbelief. Mia clutched her mother's hand, her small voice trembling. "Mom, is Daddy okay?" Emily hugged her gently. He's processing something important, sweetheart. It's not your fault." Alex ran a hand through his hair, packing slightly. Why was I told all these years?" Daniel's gaze softened slightly. "Because our father thought you weren't ready. Because he knew you'd make decisions based on emotion, not strategy. And now the consequences are real." Emily's mind raced. The man she was beginning to trust, the man she could imagine a life with, was suddenly facing an upheaval that could change everything. She felt fear, but also an undeniable surge of protectiveness. Alex's voice broke slightly as he spoke. I trusted everything I knew was true. And it was. Not even my own family, not even my own father." Daniel's eyes flickered with something she couldn't name. "It's not too late, Alex, but you need to see clearly. Your choices moving forward, they'll define not just you, but the people you love. And Emily, you need to understand who you're really stepping into a life with." Emily's heart ached. She looked down at Mia, who had begun drawing absent-mindedly, her innocence a stark contrast to the adult chaos unfolding. The child's trust reminded her of what mattered most, the emotional bonds, the love, and the courage to face uncertainty together. Alex inhaled sharply, then slowly exhaled. "Daniel, I don't care about the company right now. I care about this," he said, gesturing between himself, Emily, and Mia. "Whatever secrets there are, we'll handle them together." Daniel studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "I hope that's true. But understand, your father's legacy isn't just money or business. It's decisions, mistakes, and consequences. And some of them are heavier than you realize." Emily stepped closer, placing her hand over Alex's. "We're not going anywhere. Whatever happens, we face it together," she said, voice firm yet tender. Mia looked up, her innocent eyes wide. "Really? Together?" "Yes, sweetheart," Alex said, smiling despite the weight in his chest. "Together." Daniel finally left, the tension lingering like a shadow. The apartment felt quieter now, but the air was thick with unspoken truths and possibilities. Alex sank into a chair, his mind whirling. Emily sat beside him, small gestures of comfort and solidarity bridging the chaos. Mia climbed onto Alex's lap, giggling softly, breaking the heaviness with light and innocence. Outside, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the revelations that had just unfolded in one small apartment. Inside, bonds were tested, hearts were opened, and a fragile, unshakable promise was made to face the storms of family, trust, and love together. The weekend had passed, leaving behind a tense stillness that neither Emily nor Alex could shake. Alex spent hours at his apartment, the envelope Daniel had handed him resting unopened on the kitchen counter. He stared at it repeatedly, the words inside promising upheaval, revelations, and the possibility of losing everything he thought he had built. Emily, meanwhile, was torn between her desire to support Alex and the need to protect Mia from the storm swirling around them. She watched her daughter play quietly in the corner, imagining how fragile a child's trust could be when confronted with grown-up chaos. That evening, Alex arrived at Emily's apartment without warning. Mia ran to greet him, her small arms wrapping tightly around his legs. "Daddy, you're here." Alex smiled, crouching to her level. "Hey, superstar, I missed you." Emily watched silently, her heart tugging in conflicting directions. She knew Alex needed her now more than ever, but the weight of Daniel's visit loomed over them like a storm cloud. "I need to talk to you," Alex said softly to Emily once Mia had settled with her toys. His voice carried a mix of urgency and exhaustion. "About everything," Daniel said. Emily nodded, bracing herself. "I'm listening." Alex exhaled and finally opened the envelope. Inside were letters, documents, and detailed explanations of decisions made by their father years ago. Alex's eyes widened as he read the contents, his knuckles whitening around the paper. "Emily, this isn't just about the company," he murmured. "It's about our family, about mistakes we didn't know were made, about people who were left out, misled, or hurt. And somehow, I feel responsible." Emily reached out, taking his hand in hers. "You're not alone. Whatever comes, we face it together. Mia and I were your family too. A tense silence followed, broken only by Mia's quiet giggle as she approached with a drawing she had made. "Look, it's all of us," she said proudly, holding up a picture of 3 stick figures, one small, one medium, one tall, holding hands beneath a sun and a cloud. Alex's chest tightened at the simplicity and honesty of the gesture. "She's incredible," he whispered, brushing a tear from his eye. "She's the part of all this that makes it worth it. She makes it all make sense." Emily smiled through her own tears. "She's our little beacon," she said softly. "She reminds us what really matters." The moment was cinematic in its quiet beauty, a pause in the chaos of revelations, a reminder that love and connection often arrive in the smallest gestures. Yet outside the bubble of warmth and light, the challenges loomed. Daniel's words echoed in Alex's mind. "Some consequences are heavier than you realize." He knew confronting the legal and familial fallout would test him in ways he hadn't anticipated. But he also knew that with Emily and Mia beside him, he could navigate the storm. That night, as the city lights shimmered through rain-streaked windows, Alex held Emily close. "I don't know what the future holds," he admitted, voice low, "but I know I want us, all of us, in it together." Emily rested her head against his chest. "We'll figure it out, step by step. Whatever comes, we face it together." Mia yawned from her bed, the innocence of sleep a gentle reminder that love and family were anchors amid uncertainty. Outside, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the battles fought behind closed doors. But inside, a quiet, unbreakable bond had begun to solidify, ready to face whatever shadows remained. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds, cutting golden lines across Emily's apartment. But the warmth of the light did little to ease the heaviness that hung over the small living room. Alex had spent the night packing, papers from Daniel's envelopes scattered across the kitchen table, each one a reminder of family secrets and buried tensions. Emily watched him quietly as Mia played with her blocks on the floor, blissfully unaware of the storm looming above them. She knew today could define the fragile bond forming between them. Suddenly, the phone rang, breaking the silence. Alex answered, his brow furrowed. On the other end was Daniel, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge. "Alex, I think it's time we meet. There are decisions to be made, legal matters and family expectations," Daniel said smoothly. Alex's jaw clenched. "Not today, Daniel, not like this. We're handling things differently now." Daniel's chuckle was low, deliberate. "Different doesn't always mean better. Remember, Alex, some bridges once burned are impossible to rebuild, and some truths you may not like." He hung up before Alex could respond. The call left a chill in the room. Emily placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Whatever he's planning, we face it together. Don't let him pull you apart." Alex nodded but didn't speak, the tension lingering. Later, as they tried to enjoy a late breakfast, a knock echoed through the apartment. Emily's stomach sank. "Daniel, again." He entered smoothly, carrying a folder thick with documents. Mia, curious and unbothered, waved. "Hi, wanna play?" Daniel's gaze softened slightly at Mia, but his attention quickly returned to Alex and Emily. "Alex, I don't have time for pleasantries. The board meeting is today. Decisions will be made with or without you." Alex's fists tightened on the edge of the counter. "Decisions? You mean decisions that affect my life, my family, without even telling me properly?" Daniel's eyes glimmered with an icy calm. "Sometimes, the people you care about the most must be tested. The real question is, can you protect what matters while navigating the chaos?" Emily stepped forward, her voice firm. "We don't need threats, Daniel. If you want cooperation, you'll have it, but not at the expense of tearing us apart." Daniel's lips curled into a faint smile. "Ah, Emily, such fire, I see why he cares for you. But fire can also consume. Be careful what you're stepping into." With that, he left, leaving the apartment suffused with a heavy, almost cinematic silence. Mia tugged at Emily's sleeve, sensing the tension. "Mom, Daddy, are we okay?" Emily knelt, brushing hair from her daughter's face. "We're okay, sweetheart. Stronger than ever, actually." Alex knelt beside them, wrapping both in a protective embrace. "Nothing, no secret, no threat, no family feud can change what we have here. Together, we're stronger than any storm." Mia giggled, hiding her face in Emily's shoulder, blissfully unaware of the adult complexities surrounding her. In that moment, Alex and Emily realized that no matter what Daniel or anyone else tried to do, their trust, love, and unity would be their anchor. Outside, the city carried on, indifferent to the storm of emotions in one small apartment. But inside, bonds were being tested, strengthened, and fortified, preparing them for the coming confrontation, one that could either cement their love or challenge it beyond repair. The city skyline burned gold as the sun began to set, reflecting off glass towers and casting long shadows across the streets. Emily sat on the couch, Mia nestled against her, her small fingers gripping Emily's hand. The apartment felt charged, almost electric, as if the air itself was waiting for a storm to break. Alex entered, carrying the envelope Daniel had given him, now opened and filled with documents that confirmed uncomfortable truths about family betrayals, hidden decisions, and responsibilities he never asked for but now had to face. Emily's eyes met his, reading the turmoil in his expression. "Alex, whatever it is, we'll face it together," she whispered, her voice steady but laced with emotion. Alex exhaled sharply, packing the room. "It's a lot, Emily. Everything Daniel said, it's true. I was kept in the dark, manipulated, but it's more than that. There are consequences that could change everything." Mia, sensing tension, tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, you okay?" Alex knelt, gathering her into his arms. "I'll be okay, Mia, because I have you and your mom. That's what matters." The sound of a knock at the door made all three freeze. Daniel, again. This time he didn't enter immediately. He let the silence stretch, the weight of unspoken expectations pressing down. Finally, he stepped in, eyes flicking from Alex to Emily, then to Mia. "Alex, you have a choice. You can let these family obligations dictate your life, or you can decide what really matters." Alex's hands clenched at his sides. "And what about you, Daniel? How many times will you interfere in our lives? How many tests do you think we need?" Daniel's gaze softened almost imperceptibly. "Not tests, truths. Sometimes the truth hurts, Alex, but the right choice, the one that protects what's real, is always worth fighting for." Emily, stepping closer, placed her hand on Alex's arm. "We're done being afraid, Daniel. We know the truth. And now we choose us. Mia, our family, that's the priority." Mia, ever innocent, climbed onto Alex's lap, hugging him tightly. "We're a team, right?" Alex looked down at her, then back at Emily. His eyes glistened, emotions raw. "Yes, a team, no matter what comes." The room seemed to exhale collectively. Daniel studied them for a long moment, then nodded, a hint of respect softening his usually sharp demeanor. "Very well. But remember, the world outside this room won't wait for your choices. Every decision has consequences." He left, leaving silence in his wake. But it was different now. The storm had passed, not entirely, but the family unit had solidified. Alex, Emily, and Mia sat together, their hands intertwined, the city lights outside flickering like distant stars witnessing the promise they made. In that quiet, cinematic moment, they understood that love, trust, and courage weren't about avoiding storms. They were about facing them together, hearts open and unafraid. The morning sun poured softly through the windows, illuminating the small apartment in a warm, golden glow. Emily hummed quietly as she prepared breakfast. Mia perched on a stool, swinging her legs and chatting about the playground. Alex leaned against the counter, his eyes never leaving Emily, a small, genuine smile playing on his lips. The chaos of secrets, confrontations, and doubts from the past week seemed to have lifted, leaving behind a fragile but real peace. Alex finally felt the weight of responsibility ease, not because the problems had vanished, but because he knew he wasn't facing them alone. Mia turned, holding out a tiny bouquet of wildflowers she had picked from the windowsill. "For you, Mommy and Daddy." Emily took the flowers, touched, and glanced at Alex. "She's our little reminder, isn't she, of what really matters?" Alex smiled, kneeling to Mia's level and enveloping both mother and daughter in a gentle embrace. "Yeah, she is, and we'll never forget it." They spent the morning together, laughing over pancakes, telling stories, and planning small adventures, simple moments that felt monumental after the storm they had endured. Later, as they stepped out into the bright city streets, Alex took Emily's hand and Mia skipped ahead, her laughter echoing between the buildings. The world outside was bustling, unpredictable, but inside their little family bubble, there was trust, love, and hope, a promise that they would face everything together. Emily looked up at Alex, her eyes shining. You know, life is messy, chaotic, and full of surprises, but somehow it feels right. Alex nodded, his gaze soft but firm. It does, and no matter what comes next, we handle it together, always. Mia ran ahead, calling back, come on, let's go make more memories. They followed hand in hand, ready to embrace a future built on honesty, love, and second chances. If you enjoyed this story and want more cinematic, emotional storytelling like this, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below which character or part of the story touched you the most. And don't forget to hit the bell to never miss a new story from Mindset Stories. Stay tuned for more tales of love, trust, and second chances. Yellow Heart.